Nobody has ever seen light. Well, what the hell does that mean? Of course everybody sees light. I'm looking at light right now, you know, I'm looking at light reflecting off the puffy clouds, off my house, off the driveway. Everything in nature is capacitance, resistance, permeability, and permittivity. I mean, you never see light until it makes interaction with something. Power is manifestation. But only actualized power. Nobody on Earth, no being in this universe has ever seen light. Light is a manifestation due to the actualization of that field perturbation. I mean, when you turn on a really bright light in a room, do you see the light or do you see what it's reflecting off of? Light is a coaxial circuit. It is a field perturbation. What is potential is not actual. Okay? The actualization of potential
Now let's see him. Will you speak of the cube and the sphere? Now, what? Oh, is that sufficient for you? All right, because the cube and the sphere are the basic and fundamentals from which an appearance and disappearance take place. The appearance taking place from any one point is repeated everywhere. If a good illustration of that is this. Supposing you appear as light and as an invisible point without a body here, and then say your desire to appear. You breathe out, but now you keep your breath surrounded by a balloon. You fill that balloon with your breath. And the next one and the next one of the harmonics does likewise. All breathe out, and they fill little balloons with them, and finally pretty soon those balloons touch each other on 6 sides. Well, they keep breathing out, then they've got to expand. There's no place to go except to the corners of tubes. So all space is filled with the expansion of the decentrating force of nature. All space, and so a cube is the all of space, and that's the limit you can go. If you fill those balloons with all the air that you can compress in them, you couldn't possibly get any more in them. They'd explode. And so then when you retract, you let the air all out, you breathe it into you again, it disappears. The cube could disappear. Zero condition takes away from them. Will you speak on cosmic rays? And another question, what is the secret of the 30 octaves between sound and light? Almost 30 octaves between sound and light. Science? Does science say? You go ask them. I don't know. There is no such thing. There is no such thing. There aren't any octaves in nature in excess of the 9 octaves of nature. And between light and sound, they are the same things. The light is produced by compression, and it's at the maximum of its wave, it produces a sphere. And sound is produced in the same way by producing a wave vibration. And at the amplitude, you produce the sound that is desired. No other place upon it except at just one little point on the wire that is vibrating the violin string or a harp. Just one point that you hear the completed sound. All the way up to that you hear a siren sort of growing up to it. If you could delay that sound instead of hearing it in a thousandth of a second, if you could spread it out over a minute, you'd hear just the sound, siren growing until suddenly the C note, the A or the B or the C note is produced. Same thing with the sun. We have all of the gases and the other elements that are the rings that are being wound up until suddenly zing in the sky you see the sun. The rings are all then pulled up into the sun. The siren sound of the light that is accumulating is taking place in an incandescent sun. And that incandescent sun is exactly synonymous with the A-string sound of a harp, excepting the difference in its characteristics. Sound the A-string on the harp is not so hot, but it's hot. It's an intense temperature right there, caused by the multiplication of vibration all the way up that harp string. That's the hottest point there is in that vicinity. There's not incandescence there for the same reason. Its potential isn't high enough. But the A string that's on the cosmic harp that is struck by the vibration that produces the sun is merely a multiplication of that same wave that produced the sound of the A string of the harp. Nature has not two different ways of creating anything. Created only by waves. There is nothing in the nature but waves of motion. Waves multiply in the direction of their amplitude, and they divide on the way down, back to silence of the zero from which it came. That's life and death, and the resurrection on the other side of the equator, when the same A note of the harp string reproduces itself again as another A note. They're so fast we think of them as continuous, because they're so fast. But there's a black gap of silence between each one of those. Every time it passes the zero point of plane of silence from which it has appeared, it is silent again. Then it appears on the other side, the same siren sound accumulate, multiply into the A tone of that you're after.
This is the case in radio galaxy Hercules A. There is clearly actual matter being ejected along the axis of this galaxy from the evidence we see here. I have undertaken hundreds of plasma experiments, and I am convinced that external electricity alone cannot explain the formation we find in Hercules A. So let's take a look at how matter can be ejected by these bowl-shaped magnetic fields. So now I'm going to show you magnetic ejection utilizing the CERN ball. So this one will shoot these magnets, ordinary magnets, about 25 to 30 feet across the room if I have a large room. I don't have that big a room we're working in right now. So I'm just going to show you what it'll do. So pulls it down here, and I'll just put it in through the bottom, through the hole in the bottom. A little tricky, it doesn't really want to go in there. It's kind of against it. But then you get it to where it's a balance point, where it doesn't take any energy. But once you push it past that balance point, knowing that all matter has a magnetic component to it, you can now see how these incredibly strong bowl-shaped magnetic fields in space could accelerate matter to nearly the speed of light without requiring external electricity, black holes, dark matter, or even dark energy. Now let's take a look at some more formations in space and the magnetic fields around them. By now you can clearly see that the structures we find in space are easily explained by these bowl-shaped magnetic fields without using black holes, dark matter, or dark energy. It is important to note that these bowl-shaped magnetic fields will not always be nice, simple, symmetrical structures. They can be warped, twisted, offset, or one field might even be larger than the other as shown here. But once you understand the basics of this new theory of matter formation due to bowl-shaped magnetic fields, you will be able to easily explain most all of the structures we find in space.
The nature of the photon, the carrier of the light, is such that a fast-moving light source doesn't actually alter the color of the light. This fact is easily recognizable. The color of light is determined by the energy environment within the electromagnetic photon envelope when the light is created. Some photon packets are larger, some are smaller. The higher the energy level is inside a photon package, the tighter the package is held together, and the smaller it thereby becomes. The physical movement of an atomic element in which the photon package is formed does not affect the size of the package. Only the energy level within the atom affects the size of the photon, and thereby its color. Different size photons are recognized as different colors. This fundamental pattern, of course, extends far beyond the visible spectrum, which is actually quite narrow. Extremely high energy levels, for example, produce extremely tiny packets, such as the X-ray photons that are typically 100,000 times smaller than the photons of visible light. But why won't light change its color once it is created? Let's take a look at this. When one throws an apple out of the window of a fast-moving train, the apple doesn't end up being stretched out before it impacts the ground. This is so because an apple is an entity, regardless of the speed of the train that carries it. However, a different principle applies to sound waves. When a fast train drives through a station, its whistle is of a higher pitch when it approaches the station, and of a lower pitch when it moves away from the station. This is so because a sound wave is a disturbance in the air that reaches an observer's ear at a different rate by approaching or departing. In sound, the shifting pitch is normal because sound is a disturbance in the air, while light is not a disturbance but is an individual object, a discrete package. A beam of light is a propagated stream of individual entities. However, because light consists of photons that are complete individual entities that are of a specific size for a specific color, and the size of the photon is determined by the energy it contains, the size can change when its energy is dissipated on the path of its travel over extremely long distances. This factor is significant in the context of the Big Bang redshift theory. The redshift that is observed in light from distant galaxies is, of course, totally real. We see the spectral lines received from different galaxies. We see them shifted collectively towards the red. But how is the redshift possible when light is made up of discrete photon entities that cannot be stretched out in the same manner as a disturbance would be stretched by a receding source? The answer is simple. When light is propagated over very long distances in the range of hundreds of millions of light years, a slight energy depletion occurs along the way. The photon package increases in size by the energy depletion. The purple light thereby becomes blue light. it becomes a larger package. And the blue light becomes green light, and the green light becomes yellow light, and so on. The entire spectrum of the light becomes shifted towards the red. And the red, of course, gets shifted off the visible spectrum. Now the redshift phenomenon makes sense. It has nothing to do with light from distant galaxies being stretched by a moving light source that is racing away from us. The entire Big Bang theory thereby falls apart.
This is a spiral galaxy, one of hundreds of billions of galaxies in our universe. It consists of over 100 billion gravitationally interacting stars, which form a complex rotating system. Let's look at the rotational velocities of the individual regions of the galaxy in more detail. Starting from the center of rotation of the galaxy, the graph representing the rotational velocity of the galaxy initially increases steeply with ever greater distance from the center of rotation. However, at a specific distance, the graph levels off and remains almost constant. Naively, it had been assumed that the rotational velocity would fall off according to Kepler's third law. However, Kepler's third law describes the orbital velocity of planets orbiting a single star. It was claimed that the discrepancy between the two graphs would cause the stars on the fringes of the galaxy to be catapulted away by the centrifugal force. Therefore, the existence of a dark matter was postulated that is supposed to prevent the galaxies from breaking apart. This dark matter is believed to comprise about 24% of the total energy of the universe. However, dark matter is a myth. Why? Let's look a bit closer at the planetary motion in our solar system. In 1618, Johannes Kepler described the orbital velocity of the planets orbiting the Sun with his third law of planetary motion. It is important to know that the Sun contains about 99.9% of the total mass of the solar system. As you can notice easily, Mercury, the closest planet to the Sun, has the highest orbital velocity of all planets. The other planets demonstrate increasingly lower orbital velocities the further they are away from the Sun. This results in a velocity curve that was naively applied to the rotational dynamics of galaxies. However, there is a huge problem. The orbital dynamics of planets orbiting a central star can in no way be compared to the complex rotational dynamics of a galaxy comprising hundreds of billions of stars. Before describing the rotational dynamics of a galaxy, let us first consider a spinning top. A spinning top is a rigid body. When looking at individual points on the surface of the spinning top, we notice that the rotational velocity of the different points increases the further away the marked points are from the center of rotation. Graphically, this corresponds to an increasing linear graph. In contrast to a planetary system in which 99.9% of the total mass of the system is concentrated in the central star, a galaxy consists of over 100 billion individual stars, forming a complex gravitationally interacting rotating system. Thus, the rotational dynamics of a galaxy is not at all comparable with the orbital dynamics of a planetary system. Close to the center of the galaxy, the rotational velocity of the galaxy behaves, due to the high star density, like a rotating rigid body, just like our spinning top. Beyond a certain distance, the star density decreases greatly. Therefore, the rotational characteristics of a galaxy are a combination of the rotational dynamics of a rotating rigid body and the orbital dynamics of planets. The actually observed rotational dynamics of galaxies guarantees their stable rotation. Dark matter is therefore a fairy tale, a mysterious chimera that is easily refutable through the application of physical laws. However, astronomers insist that the dark matter chimera makes up 24% of the total energy of the universe. Another 71.4% of the total energy of the universe is attributed to another elusive energy known as dark energy. According to current consensus, the observable, verifiable universe only makes up a pitiful 4.6% of the total energy content of the universe. Dark energy, which is cited as the supposed cause of the expansion of the universe, is likewise pure fantasy and a miserable attempt to make the cosmos an esoteric playground. Learn more about this topic in the book Einstein's Universe Without the Big Bang and The Solution of Hawking's Paradox.